Welcome to the Friendly Moms Club. I'm Jen.
I'm Karlee. We're the new mom friends you didn't know you needed. Happy Mom Day.
Happy Mom Day, Karlee.
Yay. Always a good day.
We are here, and that's what matters today.
We're both wearing black because it's a somber day. It's a somber day outside. I mean, it's not somber.
It's like a bit of a struggle bus day today for us.
Day?
Both. Yeah. Week. Month. Long
time. Little sweet Henry boy's been teething for what feels like 17 years. And I think we would have made the announcement by now.
Yes,
and we all
hopefully.
Know why. Jen feels
just
poo.
Garbage. Like, I don't understand why you can't just enjoy pregnancy. I honestly... And
rough.
If you did, like, I am so jealous. And I know that's not a good thing to admit, but I am. I just wanted to, like...
very legitimate thing to
just,
feel.
like, be happy and excited and not have all the buts attached to it, right? Like, all the, like, I'm happy, but I vomit all the time. I'm happy, but I'm so unhappy and I feel so much pain and I can't actually enjoy it. And
there's no enjoyment. And like you were saying yesterday, this time you're not vomiting as much. So you're not, like, camping out on your bedroom floor. But, there's the but, you feel like absolute garbage all day.
Yeah.
And you're still vomiting, just not to the same degree. And I feel like you're actually having a similar experience to what I had.
Yes.
Where you feel sick all the time. So you're not sick enough that you have to live on the bathroom floor.
Or go to the hospital.
But you're sick enough that, like, you can't do anything. All you want to do is be in bed all day.
Yeah.
But if you have to, you can get up and go do things with, like, immense struggle.
Yes.
So it's almost like you don't feel like valid in needing to be in bed all day because you're not, like, glued to the floor.
Yeah.
Which almost makes it more of, like, a mental struggle.
I think it is. I think it's like...
Yeah.
I think it's, if you look at the percentage, it's definitely over 50% is mental. And, like, there's the physical stuff that sucks. But I think the majority of the issues is the mental part
and
of
you
it.
try to tell yourself, like, I'm not throwing up. Why can't I get up and do things?
Yes.
But you still have to recognize, like, you feel like absolute trash. Like
we talked about this, but now I feel like I'm experiencing it. Before, I'd vomit, and there was relief. For, like, maybe only a few minutes, but there was relief I got.
Yeah.
And now I'm not getting that relief.
Yeah,
like, I'm vomiting sometimes, but not enough to, like, get the relief.
It's
so
like
I feel like...
constant, you feel like crap, you're less energy. And
Yeah.
it's then the struggle, the, like, spiraling of, like, well, you're shitting all over yourself. I should be able to get up. I'm not sick this time. I'm not throwing up, but you have, it's like, it's a mind.
It is so hard. Pregnancy.
I'm sorry. There's no winning.
I mean, I love it and we're so excited, but every time I tell people, I'm just like,
you're not.
Well, I look like garbage and they want to, like, do things and can I come over? I was like, no.
No.
I can't actually see people. I'm not really leaving the house. Like, it is a miracle I'm here today and we're not sure why, but I woke up feeling okay. So we're doing it.
We're doing it. Daddy's upstairs with the baby. They're having a little nappy.
Yeah. Lucky guy.
I know.
The dad's got Jordan. So yeah,
Good job,
we're
dads.
ready to go.
We're here.
And today's a fun topic. So I was actually excited to do this
it's a
one.
good one.
Because it's like well, you talk about some negative stuff, but then it's the feel good stuff.
Yeah, the feel good
stuff.
So
today we are talking about how to be a good mom friend.
Mm-hmm. And definitely we don't think we are, like, the put on a pedestal, but we have seen things that people do and we're like, hey, that is great. We want to emulate that. We want to be that mom. We want to do that for somebody. And we've also experienced things, not even from mom friends, but also just from family members and spouses and extended family and, strangers on the internet. We've felt things where we're like, that doesn't make me feel so good.
Yeah.
And that is not what I would describe as being a good mom friend. So it's not even just specifically mom friend. We're saying that because that's kind of our demographic.
Yes. Yeah.
But also this is just how to be
a good person.
How to be a good person. Not good, because there's no morality in it. If you're not trying to be a bad person.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
You're thinking a lot into this.
Yeah,
but
you're not a bad person if you've done these things, because we've all done them.
We've all done them. We still continue to do it. We just talked about how we still screw up every day, and we're actively trying and reflecting on these things, and we're still screwing up. So you're not going to be perfect at this. But I think the whole point is that you can recognize, maybe that wasn't helpful when I just said that. Like, maybe what's a way I could rephrase if next time this comes up, I could try to say it this way instead, or...
For sure. Especially because your intentions usually are, well, most of the time are good.
Yes.
It's just sometimes your intention and your impact, they're different.
You know, like how things actually come across.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you text through things. You know how sometimes you text and it sounded so good and you press send and then you're looking at like, I don't think they're going to take this the right way. Like, that actually sounded like garbage when I texted it out.
That's not what I meant.
It's hard to have important conversations over text because people can take things differently and like...
Yeah, I can't text important things with my mother because then we both just get all fired up and...
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, one time I made a comment, like, you know Stephanie Tanner or Michelle Tanner? How rude. You know, one of them. Stephanie Tanner. How rude. I texted that once and then she was mad at me for like a few days. She's like, well, you called me rude. And I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I can see that she thought I was actually being like, oh, how rude. But in my head, I was like, how rude. Because, so.
But anyways, that's what we're talking about today. So, how to be a good mom friend. Okay, so we're going to talk about what makes a good mom friend. Like, what do we actually think encompasses a good mom friend?
Yeah. Some of the things we kind of brainstormed up.
Yeah.
Providing non-judgmental, unconditional support, regardless if you've actually experienced the same struggles. Recognizing that every baby, every partnership, every diet, every situation is actually different and not comparing. Because, you know, we fall into the comparison trap enough. We don't need other people adding into that, being like, well, my baby does this.
Yeah.
And then taking the time to understand another mom's situation. So I think it was you that came somewhere on the internet, like the seek to understand first, or seek first to understand.
Yeah, there's a saying out there. It's pretty famous. I don't know where it's from, but this whole idea of like when someone's talking to you, you want to seek first to understand what they're saying instead of judging and coming up with an answer or what you're going to say back, or like...
Or thinking that, well, that's not how I would have done it, and then that comes across in your response.
But you don't actually want to be thinking that. When they're talking, you want to be thinking, like, what are they actually saying? Like, you want to first seek to really understand where they're coming from, and then you could be helpful. Sorry, I hit my mic there.
I'm mad.
But anyways, that is what we think being a good mom friend really encompasses. And really, at the end of the day, it's just all about trying. Like, just trying your best. Because like we said, you're not going to be able to do it 100% of the time, but just really thinking, like... What would I need in this situation if I was them? Like,
what do I want to hear?
Yes.
What is the actual impact of what I'm saying? Because like we said, a lot of the time there's a good intention there, but being a mom, being a dad, being a parent, there's a lot of emotions involved. And as we all know, because we've either been through postpartum or pregnant or tried to get pregnant, the littlest thing can set you off. And if somebody says the wrong thing when you are already feeling very vulnerable and down and like in the dumps, it can really just like set you off. So,
your hormones are already on a roller coaster. So if you're on that low point and someone says something like,
we're dealing with a very
good.
vulnerable population, our poor partners. But
I know. So it's like a guessing game. Like,
exactly.
Is this gonna actually come across okay right now, or are they gonna rage about this? Like, it's a very fine line of what mood we're gonna be in. Like, it's no good. But
so one of the things we wanted to go over before, like we kind of gave our example of what makes a good mom friend, but something we want to actually go over is there's ways that we can invalidate a mom's experience and their feelings. And these are things that we've all experienced happen to us. These are things that we've done to other people unintentionally. So we kind of wanted to go through. We have a list of 8 things of ways that we can invalidate people and their experiences.
And you might be feeling a lot of things. Like, there's so many different struggles that start when you're trying to conceive, pregnancy, postpartum. Like, there's so many different things come up that it could be along the spectrum. Like, we're talking about loss, infertility, colicky babies, sleep regressions, unsupportive partners, unsupportive families, death, loss in the family, traumatic births, postpartum mental health struggles. Like, there's just a list. Like, it's not like one or two things come up that you're going to not know what to do and you're going to be feeling stressed about. Like, I don't know, there's probably hundreds of things on a list that you're going to be stressing about at any given moment about your baby and about you and how your scar, if you had a C-section, like, is it healing okay? Is it not? And like,
is your vagina healing?
Weird. like you're going to have a lot of stressors that come up. So these are some things, like these 8 things we're going to go through, of ways that your feelings are just invalidated. Yeah. So things that are just not really very helpful. So the first one is, this one comes more from
the boomer generation,
like more family, older generation. So it'll be like, well, I did it and it was hard, so like now it's your turn to do it. Like, I did it. Like,
exactly.
This is a terrible.
It's like the whole like, I walked up to, that I walked to school uphill
both ways, so you can do it. Like, you can walk uphill. Like, that's fine. I did it too. So it's this way of like, just because I had to struggle through it means you should too, which is not fair at all. Like, different generations, there's different timings. Things were very different back then in the olden days when my mom had me, but it was just different. Like, I don't even think my grandma drove, so how was she going to drive my mom to school because she didn't drive? Like, it's very different times.
It's a different
so you can't compare their situation with ours now.
Yeah. And even if you could, it doesn't matter if one person went through something really hard. That doesn't mean they can't be supportive of somebody else going through something hard.
Yes. It doesn't mean that I want everyone else to go through hyperemesis. Like, I don't actually want everyone else to be puking like this just to be like, see, now you know my struggle.
Exactly.
Like, I don't actually want that. Maybe you're a psychopath if you want other people to feel all these terrible things, because it is not fun. But anyways, so that's the first one.
Mm-hmm. The second one, very common.
Yes.
This happens literally in every stage of parenting, and it is so frustrating. The whole just wait until, because the whole, oh, well, just wait until they're walking. Just wait until they're eating solids. Just wait until the
8-month sleep regression.
Exactly.
12-month sleep regression. There's a lot of sleep regressions. There's always going to be another sleep regression.
There's always one. And that doesn't help, because if you're struggling with something, say you have a newborn and they're not sleeping well, and someone's like, oh, well, just wait until the sleep regression, whatever sleep regression, just add a number and then say sleep regression. And apparently it's a thing. That doesn't take away from the fact that, like, at that moment you're struggling. So
it actually adds another layer of stress.
Exactly. Of guilt and stress and shame. Yeah. Like, oh, I can't handle this. And then you feel like you're not what's the word when you're not, I've been struggling with word recall. It's been very difficult. Competent. That's the word. You feel like you're not a competent parent if someone's like, oh, well, just wait until this. Like,
and then sometimes I'm like, what is that? And I'm Googling, because I'm like, what is this? Is this a thing? Like, what does this regression mean something? So I'm adding more stress about, like, crap. Yeah, I didn't even know this was a thing that I needed to worry about. And it's just, it doesn't help.
It's not helpful, because if you're struggling with something, it doesn't matter if it's going to get worse. You can still be struggling. Mm-hmm. And then maybe in the future, you'll get to a point and you'll laugh, being like, haha, I thought that was hard. And now I'm in this new situation that is way harder. And sometimes it's funny when that happens. Like when you laugh about it with yourself or your partner, or you get to that just wait until scenario and you're like, this is actually fine for me, because every person handles things differently. Yeah. And there's so many other variables happening in your life that can, like, magnify one little thing. So maybe when you're had a newborn, your partner just started a new job. So that was a very difficult time for you. And then people are like, oh, well, just wait until you have 2 kids. And then you have 2 kids and life is a breeze because your partner's settled in their job. I don't know.
Maybe your partner actually got pat leave this time and they could stay home with you. And you're like, wow, I liked newborn stage way better this time around.
Exactly.
But we also experience, like, every baby experiences things very differently. Yeah. Like teething. We know some babies that literally have not even shed a tear, like nothing. They just got teeth and like, my baby has teeth. And then others, like ours. Are just like, oh, it is awful.
It's unbearable.
And it is, like, no one warned me for how bad teething was going to be. I did not understand it could be this bad.
Because maybe it's not that bad for everybody, but how bad it can be.
It's such a scale of how it affects your baby. So if you're terrified of every stage of a baby, like, it just takes away from the enjoyment of it.
Yeah, you don't need to be anticipating things getting worse or anticipating.
You don't know how your baby's going to react.
Exactly. I anticipated and stressed about the 4-month sleep regression for 4 months. No.
Yeah, literally as soon as he was born, he stressed about it.
It was hard, but it was a couple of days for us, because then that's kind of when we did things, like we started co-sleeping and then we moved him to his own room, and ours happened closer to, I think, 5 months, and it was okay. It was hard. Yeah. Actually, I think it was a few weeks, but look at this. I forgot about it already.
Yeah. Because you move on to the next, you're in the teething struggle right now, so you forget about the other struggles.
Exactly. So yeah, that's that one.
Okay.
Number 3.
Yeah. So when someone wants to vent about something,
yeah.
It could be about someone as well. But then people just say, well, at least.
Yeah. There's a really great Brene Brown video, which I think we've talked about before, but we'll link it. It's on empathy.
Yes.
And she says, no empathetic statement has ever begun with at least. So her examples are, I think hers are about miscarriage and loss, where someone's like, oh, I had a miscarriage. And then someone's like, well, at least you can get pregnant. Like, that's not helpful.
Yes.
And there was actually a real life situation, that sounds so serious, that happened between one of us. And you know what? It might have even been one of us that said the at least statement, but I remember it. And I remember thinking, oh, that's a good example. I believe you were talking about how Jordan was waking up during her teething saga like 5 or 6 times a night.
Many times.
Yes, way too many times.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, oh, well, is she waking up to feed or cuddle, or like, is she settling?
What does she do when she wakes up?
And you were saying, oh, we can either cuddle her or give her a bottle and she's settling quickly. And then the reply was, well, at least she's settling fast, so she's not up for a long time. And it's like, well, okay, yes, that is like a tiny little perk that she's not up for hours and hours, but that doesn't negate the fact that she's still waking up 5 or 6 times a night, which sucks. So just saying, oh, well, at least this or at least that doesn't, it's like you're trying to silver line it, like Brene Brown says. And
yes. Oh, she has like
she actually silver lines it.
She silver lines a little cloud, I think.
Yeah. So it doesn't actually make it better. And yes, sometimes a situation could be worse, but like we said, it doesn't take away from whatever situation they're going through still being hard.
Yes. And that's actually number 4. You basically already jumped the gun to the next one.
Look at me go.
Yeah. Just because someone is struggling more or their situation is harder doesn't invalidate your own struggles.
Exactly.
So like we're all struggling differently right now. Like right now I feel like I'm just down in the dumps and puking and just awful every day. But just because then Karlee's dealing with teething, that doesn't make my situation worse because I'm vomiting. Like we're both struggling. We're both going through something hard, and they're completely different hards, but they're both still hard. And she's allowed to vent and complain and not know what to do and be just
cry.
Like she's allowed to do that. I'm allowed to cry, and there's no judgment or comparison about whose hard is harder. Like that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. We can still be there for each other and give each other space to vent and talk about what's going on without having to compare the situations.
Exactly, because our struggles are unique in their own ways. Like or even if, say, we were going through the exact same, like, say both of the babies decided, they're not going to. But if they decided, next week we're going to go through a sleep regression. I mean, Henry's already in it. So say both our babies start waking up 6 times a night. It's not like your situation is harder because you're also pregnant and struggling with that.
Yes.
But then also it's not like my situation's harder because my partner's at work where your partner's off work. Yeah. Like they're different situations.
There's so many different life, what's the word?
Variables,
like that come into play with these things too, that can make something easier or harder. Exactly. So you can't compare, and especially if you don't understand what someone is actually going through and what their home life is like, what their support system is like, you don't actually know what they're struggling with. Like they may say one thing, like I'm struggling with teething, but it could be like teething is a little bit hard, but really what they're struggling with is the lack of support at home, and they're not getting any help. And so the teething, it might be like not hard at all.
Exactly.
But it's seemingly so hard because they have zero support at home. So they're going through stuff with their partner. They're going through stuff with their family members. And so any little bit of teething their baby has is going to seem awful. And that is stressful and that is hard. And it doesn't take away from.
Exactly. So someone's situation, like on paper, might seem easier or harder than yours, but you don't actually know what's going on. Yeah. But even if, say, you do know all the details and somebody is having a harder situation, that doesn't mean your struggles don't matter.
Yeah. And don't ever try to invalidate yourself. Like, exactly, I can't feel upset because I know Karlee's going through this. Yeah. Well, no, you're still allowed to be upset about what's going on in your life. Like, you're still allowed to need support. You're still allowed to vent and need your friends and need your support network. Like, don't ever try to like hide and not want to talk about your problems just because you don't think they're as bad as someone else's.
I remember growing up, people would always say, oh, well, there's people starving in Africa and this and that, which, yes, that is awful and it's very sad. And that is an issue that obviously needs to be addressed. But that doesn't mean that, say, you forgot your lunch and you're hungry, that all of a sudden that doesn't matter.
I get hangry, so that would be an issue.
So sad.
Okay, so the next one.
Number 5.
So when people are actually struggling and they're trying to express what they're going through, sometimes they just want to vent. And so sometimes when you jump in and try to give advice of like how to fix it, sometimes that's not actually helpful. Sometimes you just need people to listen.
Yeah. And we'll talk about in our next part where we talk
about
what to
do in this situation.
Yeah. But sometimes we invalidate somebody's experience by trying to be a fixer. So it's like, well, you could just do this. If someone's like, oh, like, I don't know, it's so hard bringing formula out, and they're like, well, just get this and that and that. It's like, well, even that is still work. So they're just trying to like vent about how hard it is to always have to bring food around for your child. Like, it's hard work. You got to pack all this stuff. You got to pack the baby. Like, there's a lot of things to pack. So sometimes somebody just wants to complain, and
you are allowed to just complain and just let it out. You just need to vent. A good vent is sometimes very therapeutic.
A good vent, a good cry, and a good poop.
Yeah.
Oh, the trifecta.
Good food. Good food. I also need good food.
Yeah, not while you're pooping. I mean, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Number 6.
Yeah. Well, you wanted this situation. You wanted to have another baby. Yeah. You wanted to have a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th child. You wanted to go back to school. You wanted to breastfeed. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You asked for it. Yeah. I feel like that right now, being pregnant again, like knowing I had a good chance of getting hyperemesis, it's like 90-something% chance that if you had the one time, you're going to have it a second time. So I feel like
now I feel bad, and this is a me problem. This is, no one has said this to me, but this is a me mental issue that I should talk to with my therapist, of this, like, I feel bad saying that I don't feel well because, like, I knowingly got pregnant. Like, happen. I knew that the chances of this were like 90-something%, and I still did it anyways. Yeah. So,
but you still want a baby, so like it's you know, like,
but it messes with your head, right? So I'm basically doing this one to myself.
Well, like, I totally understand where you're coming from. I get that. I was just gonna try and be a fixer there, so I'm just gonna say
I get it.
I get it. I actually do get it because it's hard.
It's hard. So number 7. I could never do it. Yeah. I could never do what you're doing.
Yeah. I can't.
That doesn't actually help.
I can't even imagine what you're going through.
Yeah, it does. It doesn't help.
So it sounds like you're like empowering them, like, oh, I could never do what you're doing. But really what you can be doing is just reminding them that their situation is so difficult that someone else can't imagine ever. Like, they can't fathom having to go through that.
Yes.
Which is like, that really
just
sucks.
When you like really stop and think about the statement, you kind of, when you start like looking at it and how it sounds,
like what you're actually saying,
you kind of start to realize like, maybe this isn't helpful. And this is one that a lot of people don't think about, and I say this all the time, like, I can't imagine what you're going through, but is that really helpful? Like, and we're going to go over like what better ways to phrase this after, so we are going to get into that, but just, it's not a very helpful phrase.
No. Like, your situation is so difficult that somebody else, like, it's their worst nightmare almost, or even the whole like, oh, like, I could never do it. Well, a lot of times the situations people are going through, they didn't ask for. So
they've had to learn how to be strong. Exactly. They've had to learn and grow and figure things out and struggle, and it's not, they're probably dragging themselves along. So when you say that, they're just like, oh, cool, like, I didn't ask for it either, like, cool, great, like,
thanks. Definitely. So this brings us to number 8. Yeah. The whole, oh, good thing you're strong, or good thing you're so positive, or there's so many. Like,
strong and happy people can struggle too. They also need help too.
Sometimes the strong, resilient ones are actually the ones that are crumbling the most on the inside.
Well, that's what they actually say. Like, how many people commit suicide? And the first things that you see on the internet about them, because that's where all the news is these days, on the internet, is like, but they were such a happy person. They were a comedian. They were on such and such TV show, and they were always so happy.
They were so strong and brave, and
it's often that you forget to check in on the people that don't ever ask for help, and they're always put on the happy front. A lot of times they get left behind, and people don't check in on them as often because they seemingly have everything put together, right? They don't talk about their feelings a lot. They're, but sometimes it makes all the difference to check in on those people, those strong, those happy ones that seemingly have it all together, that a lot of times it's just a front they're putting on social media or in person, that like, no, life is great, I'm good, like, happy as can be.
Crumbling on the inside.
Like, sometimes during the worst times, I'm the happiest. And it's so weird how that works out.
It's like, it's your own coping mechanism inside your own brain.
It's almost like fake it till you make it. Like, if I'm just happy enough, like, maybe I'll feel happy. It doesn't work, but anyways.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you need to. You're probably faking it today, but...
Yeah, but I'm here, and we're doing it.
Okay, so we came up with 11 things. Just ways that we can actually support and validate other moms to be a better mom friend.
Yeah,
or
like
a better sibling or partner or spouse.
So, the first one is your feelings are so valid.
Just saying that.
Sometimes just like knowing that is hard.
Yeah.
It's valid what you're going through. And sometimes that just like, it's like a little thing clicks that you're like, okay, so I'm not, like, it just...
Just telling somebody, like, and this is number 2, we'll kind of talk about all of this at the same time. I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. Just saying, like, I'm sorry. It sucks. Like, just validating, recognizing, either saying the words, your feelings are so valid, or saying, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. It's just a nice way to validate. That's it. You're validating them without any of the other stuff, the fixing, the...
Another one is thank you for sharing with me. A lot of times people have to be very vulnerable to share their kind of like deepest, darkest insecurities and struggles. And so just saying like, thank you for sharing is kind of like that. Oh, like, okay, like it was a safe place to share and it didn't hurt me to share. Yeah. Because if you've ever shared something being vulnerable and it was not taken well, you never want to share again. Like, and it really does a number on your mental health, and like asking for help again, you're not going to want to. And I have examples of this, but we don't need to get into it.
Especially if they kind of, you share something and it makes them uncomfortable. So when they're uncomfortable, they start doing all of the things. Oh, at least I can't imagine what you're dealing with, or all the other ones.
Yeah,
you know, they try to fix it. After that? They get nervous and they try to fix it, or they're like, oh, well, at least this, or you know. Yeah. It's fine. And if you don't know what to say, I think this is actually from the Brene Brown video. You can just say, thank you for sharing that with me. Like, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. Your feelings are so valid, actually. And it's not like, obviously don't say that if you don't mean that, but that is just something you can say to make somebody be like, okay, this is a safe place to share.
In the Brene Brown video, I'm pretty sure we're talking about the same one, but it's like a person is in a hole and there's a ladder. And it's this whole idea of like, instead of shouting at them from above, like, that sucks, I can't imagine what you're going through, and just like shouting, that idea of just being with them. So like going down the ladder into the hole with them and just sitting with them and saying, your feelings are so valid. And that's how it's depicted in the little video. So we will link it because it's just, I find it very powerful. It's not a very long video, but it's very impactful and in a short amount of time. So yeah, we'll definitely share that one.
It's a good one.
The next one is one Karlee actually did. And it was this whole idea of, if you are venting, instead of trying to be a fixer, and she did this, I can't remember who was venting. It was one of us moms in a mom group. And she just said, like, do you actually want solutions, or do you just want us to listen? Because a lot of times when you're vent, you know what the answer is. You know what you can do. You just don't have the energy to do it. Or you just need to vent. You need a good vent session. And I had never seen anyone do that before. And I was like, oh, that's actually good. Like, I like that. I'm going to use that. Like, do you actually want solutions, or do you just want to vent? Because that's totally fine. If you just want to vent,
that's fine. Right? And then you say, your feelings are so valid. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Or just say, I'm here to listen. Yeah.
So it's a big, impactful statement. And you're like, this girl gets it. Like, there's something to that. You're like, I feel very safe sharing and being vulnerable right now and not judged. And, you know, like, this person gets what I need. And that there's comfort in that.
It was actually born out of necessity for me, because I was telling Jen before we started, an ex-boyfriend years and years ago, he was a fixer. And out of, like, there was good intentions to it. I would complain about something and then all of a sudden hop into solution mode. Well, we can do this, this, and this, and this. And one day I realized, like, that's what's bothering me. I don't want your solutions. Sometimes I do. But in that moment, I was like, I just need you to say, like, that sucks. Instead of hopping into solution mode and trying to fix everything, just acknowledge that what I'm going through or experiencing is hard. Just say that sucks. And then there was one time I went on a rage and I was like, this happened and that happened. And then I could see him sitting there and he's just like, that sucks. Like, he's like wanting to say all this other stuff and kind of felt silly for saying that. And I was like, thank you. And then I think we got into solution mode, but just validating, recognizing, like, that sucks.
Yeah, you can go into solution mode later, like when they're ready and if they need it, you can do that later. But the first part of just asking and then listening to what they say is important.
And I definitely know hero or angel. I also jump into solution mode all the time. And then I have to think back, like, oh wait, am I just being that annoying solution fixer? And I'm like, hey, wait, no, backtrack. Back it up. That's number 4. Number 5. This one goes back to the, I can't imagine what you're going through. As we went over, that's not helpful. What you can say is, I imagine statements. So say, I imagine you're feeling very overwhelmed and very frustrated. I imagine you're very tired and angry. I imagine that was very uncomfortable for you. Instead of saying, I can't imagine whatever.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
That little change of wording can make a difference.
Because that's what I think you're trying to say when you're saying, I can't imagine.
It's just a phrase people use so often that I think we all use it without really thinking about what it actually means. Or sometimes like the double negatives, and when you throw in the negatives here and there, sometimes you don't realize what you're saying.
And that the impact. This is another good one.
A list of things that you actually can do. So instead of being like, I'm here for you, which is good to say that, but a lot of times no one is going to say, yes, actually, I need you to do this for me. So if you actually come up with a list of tangible things that you could do to help and give those options, like, I'm free tomorrow, how about I come over, I can clean your house, I can bring you a meal, we can sit and have lunch together, I can watch your kids so you can go have a shower. Like, you can give actual tangible ideas of how you can help. And a lot of times it's easier to say yes when you're kind of given those actual options and not just, I'm here for you. Kind of open-ended statement.
Let me know if you need anything. I'm happy to help. And like, those things are still helpful and it's still a nice thing to say. But if you actually do want to help somebody, especially if you get frustrated that you're always offering, like, I'm here for you, let me know what you need, and then you're not getting taken up on that offer, maybe change the words and say, okay, I can either drop off lunch, bring you coffee, or drop off groceries, or take your dog for a walk, or do the daycare drop off, or I don't know.
Yeah, one day I remember Shannon, like mom friend Shannon, and she said we can say her name, so we're sharing it with permission. But she just came and dropped over a coffee and like a treat for you because you were having a bad day. And she didn't ask, she just dropped it off. She didn't stay. She wasn't like trying to come in and have a social visit. She just was like, you're struggling. I think this could help you, and she dropped it off for Karlee. Like
she did get a show that day, though.
Oh,
that was the day with the little nip slip.
Nip slip, the whole boob was out. But yeah, she got her money's worth.
She did. But yeah, she did. I think she messaged me and just said, "Hey, there's a coffee and a muffin at your door."
Yeah,
and she's done it more than once because
she has. Yeah. But it's actually helpful because how good does that coffee taste too?
Good.
Like when someone else brings it for you, and it's just like. Mm-hmm. Like she doesn't do it for something in return, which is something else we have. Oh, number 10. Look I'm just skipping ahead. Have no expectations for something in return. Like when you're actually being there for someone, you're not doing it to get it back. You're not
keeping a score in your head. Like,
I brought Karlee 4 coffees this month. She needs to bring me 2. Like
maybe Shannon has a little tally at home. Yeah. No, she would never.
How many times has she seen your boobs? And how many times have you seen her?
Well, is
it fair?
We do go swimming together now, so
I've heard this.
Yes,
and you get your babies ready together.
We do.
Which makes sense because if you've ever brought a baby to the swimming pool, it's a lot of work.
Oh gosh, it's so much work. And the change rooms, the single change rooms are so small, and then they do have the larger family ones, but it's excessive for us to each go on our own because they're big. They're big enough for 2 or 3 strollers. So often 3 of us will go in one with our strollers, and I mean it's not like we're sitting there taking pictures of each other. We're just getting changed. And
I feel left out. My swimming lessons I'm not getting naked mom time.
Well, Wednesday mornings.
Okay, well, let's move on.
So yeah, just to finish off number 10, what you were saying. Well, we're jumping out of order here, but you're not doing things, you're not keeping score, you're not doing it because you're expecting them to do it back. Yeah. It's the whole, no, that's something else. I was going to say there's no real good deed because it always makes you feel good. That was from Friends, remember? Phoebe was like...
Oh, yes, I do know.
That's different though.
Yes, it is.
I don't know. Our brains don't really work over here.
Yeah, we're trying our best.
I'm not sleeping. She's got hormonal stuff with being pregnant, so we're just
all over the place.
Who knows what's happening?
Okay, we'll go back to our actual list. Maybe that'll help us if we stick to the list. So,
what a good idea.
Number 7,
to the list.
Not rubbing in your situation. So being mindful of like subtle bragging or like
read the room.
Yeah.
Read the room. So our friend Shannon, actually, her baby, bless him, is a unicorn in terms of sleeping.
Oh,
he's so a fantastic sleeper.
Yeah.
And you know what? She does not rub it in because one, we would probably throw things at her, but he's been sleeping through the night since he's been, I think
2 months old.
Yeah.
Like she really struggled in the beginning. Yeah. Like we're not taking away. It was really hard those first 8 weeks, but then all of a sudden he just like
started sleeping,
slept, and he's like,
he's a good sleeper. And she does a lot of work with routines and wake windows. Like she's very mindful. She doesn't, so she's doing the work, but she's never like, she's always checking in. How did your baby sleep? How are you guys doing? And she's not like without asking, oh, Hunter slept 12 hours. Because we know he slept 12 hours.
Yeah. But when she asks, it's not like she's asking so she can say that he slept 12 hours. She's asking because she genuinely cares. And it makes a difference.
And she also isn't like, oh, well, I do this and he sleeps through the night. Because he's not sleeping, well, I mean, her routines and stuff do help, but some babies just have a higher sleep drive. So if I followed the exact same routine with Henry, he probably wouldn't sleep through the night. Yeah. So she's not trying to like humble brag or tell me like what I'm doing is wrong or, anyways, she's great. Yeah. We like her.
Which kind of ties into number 8 of knowing your audience. So, maybe you don't want to complain about your partner to a single mom that's doing it all by herself, or... Like there's times and places where you might want to bring things up, and you kind of got to know your audience, know who you're talking to, know their situation.
This kind of goes hand in hand. Again, reading the room. Like, be mindful of who you're talking to, complaining to. Be mindful who you're bragging to, which it's fine. Sometimes you need to do a little humble brag as a mom because.
Well, we say to do the mom wins of the day. Like, and that is you're bragging about something you did good today. Sometimes they're the silliest things, but it's good to like, especially after a good vent session, to end it. And we've done this several times on our group chat, like after we've all kind of been venting about things. I think Karlee was the first one to be like, let's talk about something positive. And that's how we came up with the MWOTD.
Yeah.
Mom win of the day. And we just say, okay, everyone say one. Like, let's go. And we'll all like
humble
clap.
Brag.
Yay. Yeah. Good job, Shannon. Good job, Karlee. Good job, Jen. And we all just like high five. And it's good. Good way to end it off.
But don't be doing your mom win of the day if somebody... It's just their baby was up 17 times and you're like, my mom win of the day is that he slept through the night. Like,
You might get hit.
Yeah, you might get things thrown at you.
Anyways. Okay.
Yeah. Did we miss any here?
I think just like checking in with your friends, and this is the same thing about that, like those strong, silent friends, the happy friends, like you still need to check in on them too. And if you haven't heard from someone in a while, there's no harm in sending a message. And again, you're sending it without the expectation of anything back.
Even a reply.
Yeah, sometimes that means a response, because I know right now people have been messaging me, checking in with me, like know that I'm pregnant, that know that I'm struggling, and I just don't have the energy some days. Like I see messages pop up and I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And I feels good.
Yeah.
But the energy to respond, I just don't have every day. And I'll end up responding normally a couple days later, and I'll say, I'm really sorry. Like, I just don't have a lot of energy, and they don't. And no one cares.
Knowing the people checking in, they're not checking in and like they have a little tally. Jen has not replied in 72 hours.
Yes, but it's just that like they're checking on me and they don't need me to respond. Yeah. They're really just saying like, hey, we're thinking of you. We're here. Like,
yeah, bless those little
sucks
emojis.
What you're going through. Yeah. Sometimes I just double click to like, so they know I read it. I liked it. I gave it a little harder, a thumbs up, and that way they know I saw it. It meant something to me. And
especially in those early postpartum days, I remember getting texts like, hey, thinking of you, hope everything's going okay, like don't stress about replying, like just want to let you know like I'm thinking about you, or you know, those are very nice because so.
And we've tried to kind of like emulate all these things we're talking about, because we recently had a mom friend that was going through something really hard. Her daughter at I think 7.5, almost 8 months old, had to get surgery and was going to be in the hospital for almost a week. Like it was a big major surgery, and we're like how do we help this mom? Like what can we do that would actually be like a tangible, helpful thing? And so it was hard because this person also didn't want to ask for help, because who wants to ask for help? Like it's hard
Moms
to
struggle
ask for help, right? Especially when you're used to trying to do it all. Like you just had a baby, you're used to doing it all, right? Like that mama instinct that you just need to do everything. So we came up with like a little meal train idea that people were going to bring meals.
Give yourself a pat on the back.
Doesn't matter. But there were so many moms. We brought it up to a few moms, and I was kind of like, some people didn't know her, had only met her once, and they were like, yes, we want to help. We want to be involved. We'll make a meal. We ended up doing a gift for her, like things that she could have at the hospital, because she's also one of those people that, and moms just often do this in general, that they don't take care of themselves very well. So we're like, what would be helpful for her to have at the hospital? And like, Karlee being a nurse was like, ooh, good snacks, like instant coffee packets. Like, oh, what about a mask so she can get some sleep and the room is darker? Like earplugs or headphones. Like, you know, so we just kind of went through the list of like what would actually be helpful for her when she's in the hospital. A game book, like crosswords and Sudokus, that type of stuff. So we got her like a gift that's a tangible, like, you can do this. And we got skip the dishes, because food is my love language. I don't know about you, but it's a good love language. And it's when you're in the hospital,
the food's trash.
It's awful. But it makes a difference. If you can get like an actual meal in you that's warm and it tastes good, it does make a difference. Definitely. So, and she went and she like got her favorite vegetarian restaurant was around the corner. Nice. So she got that multiple times. And anyways, so we tried really hard to like think of how we could do this. And we ended up creating a Facebook group without her in it. And that sounds bad, but I didn't want to add the stress of us talking about like what meals, what she does want to eat, where she lives, when we're going to drop it off, what's the schedule going to be like, what are we getting for the gift? Like,
she doesn't need that.
She doesn't need that stress in her life. So we didn't add her, which to some might sound like, well, that's not very nice. Are you talking about her behind her back? But we weren't at all. we're also positive. Like, all the moms are so nice. And everyone's like, what else can we do? What else can we do? What can we do now? Is there anything else I can do to help? And, you know, I'm sure that it wasn't a lot. Like, a lot of moms gave what, like, making an extra meal. If you're making a meal for yourself, making an extra one to drop off wasn't a big deal. But it was, like, I cried because I was just like, people are so generous. So nice and so generous. And people that had never even met her.
We're chipping in money.
And just everyone wanted to come together to help. And it was really, really nice. Yeah,
we do have a good little mom gang.
We do.
Something that you, number 11 here, that you did in that scenario that I'm going to toot your horn for, is that she offered to share information for her. So originally she offered to share information about the fact that this was happening, and then also did provide some updates. And that way this person didn't have to go through like having to tell everybody, because it's hard and it's vulnerable. And you also like,
it's overwhelming when all these people message you and you're having to explain this really crappy situation to 20 moms messaging you. It just triggers.
That's something you can offer. I think you offered, right? You're like, I can share this with people if you want. Obviously get approval.
Yeah.
And then also in any hard situation, if somebody, say, is going through a loss or they're struggling in pregnancy, you can say, hey, you can update me and I can update people for you. That way people kind of know what's going on. They're in the loop, but they're not getting the burden of like having to reply to everybody. And that is
think
something...
about if you went through a loss. Do you want to tell that to everyone? No. But do you need support more than anyone else in that moment? Yes. Exactly. But no one is going to ask. Like I recently found out that there's a group in Vancouver. They're fairly new. I think it's called like Caring for Motherhood or something like that. And they get together like free care packages to anyone that had a miscarriage, and that they bring it to these women to support them. And it's totally free. But, like, how are you going to get that support? That's what I'm kind of curious. Like, how are they reaching out to these women? Because so many women that had a loss aren't going to want to be like, yes, I want a free care package. Like, you're not thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
So
I wonder
curious.
if it's like a
really
friend or somebody that...
But maybe you need to be that person that provider, if you know someone, that you reach out and say that my friend could really use some support right now. So it's a very interesting program, but just kind of on this same what we're talking about now. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the big take-home points is that you don't have to get it right 100% of the time.
No, you don't.
You are not going to get it. Like, you can't be, unless you're some, like, angel of a person who is just amazing. And we do know, actually, one mom who just seems to always know what to say. She always knows the right time to check in on people. Like, she just knows. It's quite... Yeah.
She's doing amazing. It out of the goodness of her heart, because a lot of these other moms, she has only known for a couple of months, yet she's always bringing like a birthday gift. I got a housewarming gift from her. Very sweet.
Yeah. She spearheaded the mom that was having surgery for her baby. She spearheaded having a barbecue, a birthday in the park for her. And I was like, do you even really know her? But like, she's just so kind-hearted. It is so sweet. And it's kind of empowering. Like, it makes me want to do better.
Exactly.
It makes me learn what's actually good and what's bad. And I found that I can learn a lot from her, which is really cool. Even her
language she uses. And
the words, her verbiage is very...
The verbiage. What a good word.
I know, right? I felt like I sounded smart saying that. Really, she's the smart one, but... So you're not going to get it right. And like, you can learn, though. And that's the big take-home, is that you're not going to get it right 100% of the time, but the biggest point is if you can actually look back and say, okay, maybe that wasn't helpful. Like, what can I do better next time? Do I need to message and like clarify something and check in to make sure that what I said actually was taken the way that I intended it to? Like, sometimes you need to, sometimes you don't, and you just need to learn for next time what a better way.
Yeah. And even saying, I was thinking about this, because checking in with somebody and saying, oh, I said this, I hope you weren't offended. That is also different. That's one thing. Making sure that you weren't like misinterpreted, but you could also say, in this sense, I said this and I'm recognizing that may have been inconsiderate, or that was inconsiderate. I'm sorry to have, like if you said, oh, well, you
acknowledging that you screwed up.
Instead of being like, oh, you may have misinterpreted this wrong and been upset, owning it and saying, I said this, that was inconsiderate. I'm so sorry you're going through this, A
lot of times you can tell, like, even if it's said, someone says, I can't imagine, you just know based on everything else they said that they had good intentions, that it won't bother you. Like, the person isn't going to be like, oh, I can't believe she said that, and they're not going to be so offended. If all you do is say all those negative statements that we talked about, then it's going to make a difference. But really, like, your intention and how you come across, it's going to make all the difference.
For sure. Just
the fact that you're caring and that you're probably checking in is going to make 99% of what you say okay anyways. But we just kind of wanted to say, like, what do we think actually makes a difference, and how you can say things that are more impactful.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And from that, should we hop into the good old Mom Day mantra?
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Little drum roll.
You do it today.
Okay. So our Mom Day mantra, we have it every week. It's just a little mantra or statement to kind of make us feel a little bit more joyful, kind of guide our thinking. So the one today is, be the mom friend you wish you had when you needed it.
And it makes a difference. If you think, like, when I'm struggling, what actually makes a difference right now? And then do that for someone else when they're struggling. Like, you're going to hit the nail on the head. It's going to make a big difference.
And it goes both ways. Like the one friend we were talking about, our little angel friend, we see things that she does and we're like, I'm going to do that for somebody. Yep. And then also sometimes you see the way somebody reacts to something and you're like, I'm not going to do that, because I can see how that is not actually supportive, even though that wasn't the intention.
I think, like, being a good friend just means your ability to learn and grow, and actually, like, acknowledge if you did something bad, reflection, like all these good keywords.
Reflection is key.
It is, but it's hard. And if you're not in a good place, you're not going to want to reflect, and you're just going to want to blame someone else, because that's the easiest thing to do, right? Than saying, oh, I said something that was probably inconsiderate. It's so much easier to say you misinterpreted that. Exactly. That's not what I meant. That's a you problem. Like, obviously you read that wrong, right? Like, that's not actually helpful.
That's so 90s. Cut it out.
I haven't seen anyone do that in a while. That was good. You did that. That was very good. Anyway, so if you like and you want to listen to us some more, please subscribe if it's on podcast or on YouTube. I think you can like and subscribe. Yeah. But it would mean a lot to us, and it helps other people kind of see us and come up more, and I don't know, the algorithms and how it all works. But if we don't know how it works, but apparently liking and subscribing that would be great. Helps. So
you know how else you can be a great mom friend? You can share this with one of your mom friends. Yes. We would love that. We'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, spread the word.
Yeah.
What actually would make a difference, right? Is like helping more people understand what they can do, what would actually be helpful, without having to actually explain to someone what would be helpful.
I was actually saying more for us. Like, we would appreciate it. You could be our mom friend if you share this with somebody, because we want people...
We want everyone to have a community that they can go to and they can talk to, vent to, talk about the good things. Like, we want everyone to have that community. Definitely. We can be that community. Like, we just, Okay, I get what you're picking up what you're putting
down. Yeah.
Okay, well,
it's about us, Jen. I'm kidding. But seriously, we can be your mom friend.
Yes.
We want to be your mom friend. Please.
Yep.
Anyways, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, happy Mom Day.
Kisses. Goodbye.